So today is finally patch day. It feels like 12.6 has taken so long to get here, but we're so glad we finally got some new changes. Now it's not the biggest patch in the world, so don't get too excited, but there is a few changes we're really happy about, like the Hecarim nerfs. Starting off with the top lane, and in the god tier we have Garen, Shen and Kayle. Darius got a nice buff to his ultimate, but keeps his place in the A tier for now. Jax bumps up to the A tier with his buffs alongside Fiora, who has been performing a little bit better over the last few weeks. We've also added Tahm Kench back into the top lane tier list too, after removing him previously due to Riot's focus on shifting him to support, but it seems like he's still just more popular up there in top lane. So Tryndamere finally got nerfed. Riot eventually realised that his E being basically spammable wasn't that fun to play against, so they're nerfing its cooldown reduction on crit. Not only that, but they're also nerfing the base cooldown on his ultimate, so hopefully this should make him a little bit less abusable. Tryndamere is definitely better at higher ranks where people absolutely play to their limits and understand how to abuse this champion's potential. But he's been in the A tier for low elo for quite some time now, and we're going to keep him there despite these nerfs. Although these changes should hit those spicy Tryndamere one tricks, the majority of casual players probably won't feel them too much, and he'll still be more than viable enough in that top lane. Jax is receiving his annual buffs, and usually this happens once a year and it makes the champion completely busted again. We've put Jax in the S tier for high elo, but in low elo we're just shifting him to the A tier for now, and we're going to see how he does over the next week or two. Jax definitely has the ability to be very strong though. His kit is very effective at stomping lanes and snowballing incredibly quickly. If he gets fed, he's more than capable of 1v2ing or even 1v3ing from that top lane. Whether it's split pushing or cleaning up fights, Jax will always have ways to win games. Now that he's been buffed, he's going to be stronger and far more popular. Shen jumps up to the god tier this patch after rising back up to one of the highest win rates in this role over the last few weeks. With some nerfs coming to the lifestyle items this patch, this will also help champions like Shen who don't really build it. And for someone that's already performing well, this will help in a good amount of matchups. Shen's influence in games is undeniable, and ever since those teleport nerfs he's become far more impactful as no one can really follow him, unless they can get to a nearby turret quick enough, which is probably still not going to help too much. When Shen gets fed, he also becomes a very strong duelist and can easily become a split pushing monster with 2 teleports in the mid to late game. Shen's taunt is also fantastic at setting up ganks and engaging teamfights, keeping him relevant and potent throughout all stages of all games. Onto the jungle now, and in the god tier for low elo we have Rammus, Trundle and Nocturne. Not too many changes in the patch notes for this role except the nerfs to Hecarim, which we're all pretty happy about to say the least. We moved some champions around though since the last time, as we wanted to include more of your champions so you guys don't feel left out. Evelynn, Zed, Gragas, Talon, Nidalee and Rengar were all excluded from this low elo jungle tier list previously, as they're fairly unique and difficult to play. But if you can play them, they can be very strong, and therefore they've been added to the B tier. Wukong also joins them there, and Shyvana jumps up to the S tier after a huge burst in her win and play rate recently. So Hecarim finally got nerfed, and it's genuinely been way too long. Hecarim has been dominating so many games in the jungle this season, and now they've nerfed his base damage, so hopefully he shouldn't be one-shotting you as easily when he builds like a full tank. The Chem Tank Muramana build path has been so oppressive all season, and despite various changes to this item, it's not really made a difference. Hecarim tends to be one of those champions which is either popular because he's broken or never played because he isn't, so it'll be interesting to see how he does over the next few weeks. But for now, we've dropped him from the S tier down to the A tier. Rengar got a rework this patch, and as we just mentioned, we haven't had him in our low elo tier list before just because he's so unique and so difficult to play. These changes though do make him far less punishing, and let's be honest, everyone thinks they're good enough to play Rengar anyway, so you're going to be seeing a hell of a lot of him. Rengar's one-shot potential and damage when he's fed can just be absolutely terrifying, so make sure if you're playing against him you're taking champions with abilities who can actually shut him down. Lulu and Janna are both great examples from the support role, as you can make him pretty much redundant. Rengar's lane ganks from those brushes and unpredictability with his ultimate make him such a good ganking pick. So if you like him, now's the time to play him. Nocturne is just absolutely everywhere right now, in both low and high elo, but especially so at those lower ranks. Nocturne is sitting on one of the highest win rates in the entire game from this role, and honestly it just feels like he's picked non-stop. Nocturne's unpredictable ganks, relentless threats and overall potency with his ultimate just make him so hard to play against, and if he gets fed, he either one-shots all of you in seconds with lethality build or he becomes unkillable with the bruiser build. Axiom Arc is a ton of fun on this champion too, and can allow him to just ult on repeat. Nocturne has been around for over a decade, and this ultimate is still one of the best in the game for those early to mid game ganks and fights. Onto the mid lane now, and not too many changes coming in that will influence this role aside from a few nerfs to some lifestyle items which could definitely impact certain matchups. Azir also got buffed, but in low elo we just do not think he's good enough at the moment. In the god tier we have Diana, Anivia and Viktor. Akshan and Zilean move up to the S tier. Aggressive picks like Talon, Pyke and Pantheon all jump up to the A tier after success in recent weeks. And Orianna and Karma make a return to this tier list in that B tier. Diana has been increasing in popularity in the mid lane recently, and her win rate is absolutely mental. She still shares a lot of the strengths she has in the jungle with her roaming and ganking potential, but she also offers a massive amount of kill threat in lane. Diana mid can be absolutely terrifying, to be honest, and if she gets a lead she can abuse it so easily with that low cooldown mobility and insanely high burst damage. Diana is just a great pick all round at the moment, and honestly just taking it mid so you don't have to play against it in the jungle make it viable enough as it is. Then you factor in just how strong this champion can be and how many matchups he surprisingly wins, and you've got a fantastic choice to play in that mid lane this patch. Pyke mid is just getting more and more popular again, and it's winning a hell of a lot of games even at low elo. Pyke mid is probably one of the best roaming mid lane champions you can actually pick, and you basically just play him like a second jungler. Constant aggression, constant ganks, and constantly just trying to kill your enemies and snowball at any cost. Pyke mid is a very risky pick, as if you don't get fed, you're just not going to compete with all those scaling mage powerhouses. But if you can play it well and abuse his strengths, you can win a ton of games on this champion from that mid lane this patch. Viktor still remains as one of the most popular champions in the entire game, and that's what keeps him up in that S tier despite not having as good of a win rate compared to some of his S tier peers. Viktor is just such a heavily contested pick, and the amount of games this champion has this season is just nuts. Viktor's scaling is definitely what also keeps him in such a good position though. His damage and his burst in the mid to late game is so scary, and if he gets fed and spikes early, he's going to walk all over the game and all over the entire team too. Viktor is going to take some practice, but if you can get him right, he's still just as strong as he was in preseason, 6 or 7 patches later. Moving on to the bottom lane now, and not too many changes that influence this role this patch. Lifesteal items got nerfed a little bit, so we will see this affect it slightly, but not enough to change anything major. In the God tier, we still have Vayne, Jhin and Veigar. Twitch jumps up to the S tier after some real success in recent weeks. Cassiopeia and Yasuo also go up from B to A. Zeri moves down from the S tier after her win rate dropped quite significantly in low elo since the recent changes. So Vayne is still absolutely tearing it up at low elo, and she's actually sitting at quite a high ban rate too. Vayne's ability to peel for herself and completely decide the game by just how good she is definitely contribute to how she wins so many games, and she can undeniably have far more impact than other less mobile AD carries. Good Vayne players are so hard to beat, and yes, that is still relevant in low elo. Lower rank players just do not know how to deal with Vayne either, as she can be very hard to catch and lock down with all the stealth and tumbles. Vayne's silver bolts also allow her to shred through anyone and anything she comes across, and as people have a tendency to play tanks more often in low elo, it instantly makes her even more viable. Lethality Xayah has made a return, and it feels insanely strong this patch. It's come back in action since its popularity in the pro scene, and having played it quite a bit myself, I can honestly say it actually feels a bit busted. It does have its obvious flaws, but seriously it's so easy to win lane on, and then you just have so much damage coming into that mid game. After a few items, your QE by itself can nearly one-shot squishies, and then if you manage to get a few feathers off too, you're going to have a great time. Xayah has always been such a fantastic blind pickable safe AD carry to go for, as that ultimate just makes her so great against such a mass variety of champions. If you are looking for a new AD pick to go for, I personally would definitely recommend Xayah as a great option. Misfortune is yet another champion abusing Muramana at the moment, and oh boy does this champion deal some unbelievable damage. I actually feel kinda guilty promoting this champion, as honestly it's so damn annoying to play against, as she doesn't really have to do anything except press E and R every time it's off cooldown. In low elo, for some players, mechanics can be a bit of a hindrance, so playing Misfortune removes that instantly, as literally all you gotta do is press R and reap the rewards. If you combine Muramana Misfortune with ability C in your team, you're gonna win a lot of games. No, seriously, a lot. Finally, moving on to support, and we genuinely have no tier changes at all this patch. We did our 12.5b update recently and nothing has changed enough in this role to warrant any movement. In the God tier, we still have Sona, Soraka and Janna. Soraka is just insane this season, and it's hilarious how easy it is to be impactful on this champion. Why would you play Leona when all you can offer is a few stuns, when a Soraka you can consistently heal up your entire team's health pool every single time you see them? Soraka's sustain is just madness, and not only does it carry bad AD carries through the lane phase, but it also is easily enough to impact and decide teamfights by saving everyone, time and time again. Soraka's difficulty comes from her positioning, as you're so squishy you really need to be careful, but if you can pull it off, she is insane. Soraka mains are loving their lives in this meta of enchanters, and in terms of scaling, there's not many other picks you can go for when you can have this much point and click impact. Spam those heals and farm that LP. Nami is still a fantastic pick too in Season 12. She's probably one of the best all-round supports you can play, and she just works so well with anyone. Nami's E makes her uniquely effective with those bursty picks, and Nami Lucian is just as abusable as ever. Nami is just the best jack of all trades support you can get at the moment. She's got CC, buffs, healing and burst contributions that make her so valuable in the majority of games. Engaging supports really have taken a fall recently. They've been overshadowed by enchanters all season, but the recent nerfs to Locket of the Iron Solari pushed them even further down the ladder. The most reliable and impactful one at the moment though is definitely going to be Nautilus. Nautilus's hooks are still just as insane as ever, and that point and click ultimate can be enough to shut down even the most fed enemy AD carries. Nautilus's early kill threat in lane is monstrous, and if you pair him with someone who can benefit from that too and stomp the early game like a Samira for example, you can still win a ton of games this season despite these tanky picks not being quite as sought after. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this patch 12.6 tier list video for low elo. We hope you agreed with our choices and let us know in the comments who you're looking forward to playing most this patch. That's all from us here at Mobalytics, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.